Content warning. Following show contains tobacco smoking, possible potty mouth language, discussions of fictitious violence, and other uncomfortable subjects. Viewer discretion is advised. Hey everybody, what is going on out there? How are you today? I am Solar Grade, the cinematic sorcerer, coming at you from the Wizard's Tower. I am so sorry that we are showing up so late. There was technical difficulty again that like everything was going good right before I pushed start the stream for the countdown, and then everything went and I'm like, oh god, I'm all right, fine. So yeah, I had to fix all that stuff today, and yeah, but we're here, we're now, and soon you will still be here. So I'm Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer, and welcome to the dark side of the room. This is the show where we talk about gaming culture, being a nerd, being an artist, and all that other stuff, a lot of things that go with it, and we do it from the perspective of people who've never really been welcomed in society, and you know, how we feel about it, how we feel about being welcomed, what we do, and of course, how to navigate these things in dealing with other people and learning how to behave properly as an adult or as a child around other people who might be adults and who might be children. So, if you got any questions or comments or anything along those lines, you can easily ask me questions by pulling up your keyboard and going to backinthedeck@gmail.com. It's BACKINTHEDCK at gmail.com. You can also hit me up on various other places like Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all of those places that people come in on, because it's a real thing. And so with all of that, I gotta say thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. And if you are over 40, like I am, and of course you are part of that wretched hive of scum and villainy known as Facebook, well, you can easily join our group Deckers on the Book, where everybody who likes our show and all that stuff, you guys are Deckers, okay? Not to be confused with Trekkies, but you are Deckers, all right? And we all get together and we talk about stuff, and we have a Discord server where Call of Fortnite and Neon Arlecchino normally puts up the Discord invitation right down there in the chat and all that jazz. And hello, Black and White Now in Color. Hello, Call of Fortnite. And a big shout out to all my people in the chat. Let's see who's here. Yeah, just a bunch of people are out there, and thank you guys. Oh, we have a new person, Mariah Anderson. Oh no, not a new person. They were here last week, which is awesome. All right, so hello, Mariah. Hello, Freaky Babe TV. Hey, what's going on, Draft Snack? Along with Call of Fortnite, Bardic DW. And yeah, so today's episode is gonna be a casual conversation. Like every show that we do isn't already a casual conversation. I know you guys see me. Let me just set out this word right here. Do 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 do. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Um, hang on. Boom. Okay. So with all of that on and doing the thing and all of that jazz, I wanted to bring a lot of that stuff up and talk to people and all that stuff. But one of the major things, thank you very much, Call of Fortnite, for putting the Discord thing in the chat. Just push that button and you'll be like, hey, can I join your Discord? And I'll be like, sure, you can join my Discord and you're fine, it's doing a thing. So with all of that being said, I wanted to have a casual conversation with you guys. And if we're lucky, we could get a co-host or something in here today. Unfortunately, Heather had an appointment. So with that being the case, it's back to yours truly. This, you and me. And it's a beautiful day at the gaming store, a beautiful day for a gamer. Could you be mine? Would you be mine? Because I've always wanted to have some gamers just like you. I've always wanted to be at a game table with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, you be mine. Would you be mine? Won't you be my gamers? Okay, so today I gotta say happy Monday to everybody. Not that today is Monday and we're happy about it, but I hope that your Monday is happy. Let's grab a plug here, right over here, doing a thing. And yeah, it has been a weekend. We got a lot of stuff done this weekend, and I really messed up something over the weekend, which was I was going to go down to the Guild House Games in Bellflower, California. Great store, great owners, great staff, great. To do some stuff with AfroCon Capes and Curls, and I got the date messed up. I told you guys, come down and see me Saturday. And some of you guys could make it, which was cool. Unfortunately, I messed up and I got the date wrong. So I was early to the place by about a week. So this Saturday, coming up, Saturday, April 30th, I'll be at AfroCon Capes and with AfroCon Capes and Curls at Guildhouse Games in Bellflower, California. And we'll be playing board games and I'll be doing some game demos and just a really good time. There's no cover cost, as it were, but the store does charge either a straight $5 fee to use the tables or to please buy $15 worth of merchandise. And real talk, guys, that's like a Magic the Gathering starter deck. I mean, it's not a whole lot, and $5 is less than you'd spend on food if you were going out. It's just to make sure that the store can pay its people, pay its rent, keep the light, just a tiny bit, and that literally gives you the table all day. It's an all day fee. It's not like $5 an hour or $5 for 20 minutes or $5 per game. You can like, hey, I got this table all day. So yeah, but definitely show up. Charles and Monica are amazing people. Cats are really cute. And yes, it's a game store that has live cats walking around it. And guess what? It doesn't smell like cat pee. It's I don't know what it is about the Decker friendly stores because Ready Set Games in Menifee has the cutest Siberian Husky puppy that's walking around, and its paws are like that big, so it's going to be a really big, loving dog because it's a Husky, and Spitz breeds are really great. I don't care if it's a straight up Spitz or a Husky or an Akita, whatever, just. But yeah, animals, the stores that are good to animals tend to be good to people, and that is really, really awesome. So yeah, come on down. Anyway, so this weekend, um, I wrote a few paragraphs that I put up on my personal Facebook page because I have a lot of really, really, really good friends that forget the color of my skin in regards to things that we like doing. Okay. For a long time, I did things like the SCA, the Renaissance Fair, Burning Man. These are places that I go, places that I enjoy, believe it or not. However, my experiences there are different and more emotionally draining than what a lot of other people's experiences. And that is a very, very, very difficult thing to communicate. Um, and this is something that may come down with you and a lot of your people being there are things and environments that you may enjoy. Um, things and environments that you may enjoy that people in your circles may not have the same experiences that you have. Okay. For those of you guys that are new to the channel, Back in the Deck is located in Los Angeles, California. And for locals to Cali, as it's called everywhere else in um Los Angeles is a moderately sized city, but it's connected to what's called the Greater Los Angeles area. And it is essentially a mega city that has two or three big cities like Los Angeles, Long Beach, and Westwood. Um, or actually, I'll put Van Nuys instead of Westwood. But a whole bunch of smaller cities, and by smaller cities, I mean they're just on the city side of being a large town. Okay. Um, but that means we cover a lot of area. Like the greater Los Angeles area is huge. And I'm talking like 70 miles from north to south and like 45 miles east to west. Okay. It would go further west, but there's water. Okay. Seriously. But like the city of Venice and the city of Santa Monica, which counts as LA, have their own mayors and stuff. So they're different. And each city has its own culture, its own vibe. Like Hollywood is Hollywood and it neighbors Los Angeles, but it is not Los Angeles proper. Okay? So what you guys would have as suburbs and neighborhoods, we actually have as cities. It's because we expanded out when we were building up because of tectonic plates and you can't go high because the ground moves and then buildings fall down and all that. So that means we're really diverse, we're really spread out in the densely populated areas, but there's a lot of places that were not founded with the best of intentions. Okay. This is one of the reasons I started the channel for the company as a whole. Because if you guys are longtime viewers of the channel, you know that I've been all throughout Southern California, almost an entire state. And there have been a lot of places that were unfriendly to me, spaces, based on the color of my skin. And I've been to a lot of places that aren't welcoming to women, aren't welcoming to aren't welcome to the disabled, be it cerebral palsy or different levels of being on the spectrum, or being in full fledged wheelchairs. There's just a lot of places that aren't down with that, but there are a lot of other places that are. Okay. So one of the things, like I said, that I was involved in a long time was the Society for Creative Anachronisms, or there's an event out here called Wasteland Weekend where a bunch of people cosplay Mad Max stuff, the Renaissance Fair, and then there's Burning Man in Nevada. There's a whole lot of stuff that's out there, and all these things are cool and artsy, and they have a lot of really, 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 really good people that are out there. However, they also have a moderate amount of not cool people. And in my years of doing that stuff in gaming circles in different cities and various art things, I've come across a lot of bad actors. And there came a point in my adult life where the experiences with the bad actors either outnumbered or outweighed my good experience with a lot of the people that I enjoy and that I love the company of. I look at a lot of these people family. Um, yes, Call of Fortnite, those bad apples that ruin the whole barrel. You know, um, I mean, and that really is what the phrase is. So when they're like, "Well, you can't let a few bad apples," no, really, a few bad apples spoil the whole barrel of the good apples. And I spent from 1996 till about 2014, 2015, biting the bullet and burying my offense, burying the damage that being around a lot of these bad actors did. And I got tired of it recently. I'm just, I'm a little past. Now that is not to say that I don't love my people, that I don't love these experiences and stuff on paper. Okay. However, um, there are enough bad actors out there that make me feel not safe. And by not safe, I mean not safe socially. Okay. Um, Real talk. At present, I'm about 182 pounds and I'm 6'4". All right. So I'm a 6'4", almost 200-pound dude. So what would make me feel unsafe? That is because of the state of the world that we're in. There's a lot of social situations that are emotionally and socially unsafe for me to be around. A lot of these places have dudes that like to pick fights. And y'all know, and again, this isn't a political channel, but I do speak truth. Um, y'all know that we live in a world right now where if sirens show up and they don't belong to a fire truck, people that look like me can be in danger. And there's a lot of bad actors out there that would do things like start fights, um, or do whatever they can to push me to cause a scene so that someone will call the police and someone else can play the victim. Okay. And that's a lot to deal with. So I've taken a lot of time off of going to a lot of these venues. But there's still a lot of people in my life that will continue to invite me to these places as though they haven't internalized these things. And that's the casual conversation I want to have with you guys today. Because for years I would explain how people treat me differently than they treat the other people around. And a lot of the times, I know a lot of you deckers out there um, can identify with me. Um, the experiences that I have either fallen on deaf ears or been met with things that would be called gaslighting nowadays, like you're being too sensitive or you're not seeing it wrong or that's not how I know those people. Okay. And it's not done out of malice, but it is done out of a little bit of incompetence. And the incompetence isn't, I'm not saying that with judgment. I'm saying that because, at least in the United States, people tend not to understand other people's situation. We are living in a as a deficit of radical empathy in the sense of um, we try and put ourselves in another person's situation, but we put ourselves in that other person's situation as we are with our history. Okay. And I'm just as guilty of it as anyone. When a lot of my woman friends tell me about what they're going through, um, I still reflexively, I have to pull myself back from doing this, but 6'4", 200-pound martial arts trained me in the situations that they are describing that make them scared. I don't put myself in a position of being 5'2", 100 and nothing. I don't put myself in the position of um not having the psychological spoons to deal with one other person telling me that I have a nice butt. Um, that kind of thing. And so occasionally I have to remind people that my experiences in places that they enjoy are not the same as experiences in places that they enjoy. Okay. Um, I'm going to use Games Workshop as an example. Where I live, games down here in Southern California, the Games Workshop stores have a lot of clientele that are racist, sexist, and um and homophobic. That's just what they are. A lot of people. Hey, what's going on, EbTech? Um, thank you. Oh well, thanks a lot. Sweet. Yeah, we're doing the real talk. Most of the time, we're fun, but I have to put this stuff out there. Um, but yeah, a lot of the stores have clientele. Some of them have staff, but they can regulate their staff. But what a lot of places can't do is regulate their customers. Okay. It's easy to say, well, you should just kick those people out. But I'm going to be real with you guys. As a business owner, storefronts are expensive, bills are expensive, bank accounts come in completely different flavors than regular accounts. So these businesses have expenses that we as customers don't know about, let alone think about. So they can't just kick people out all the time. When I was running coffee shops, um, this was in the early 2000s and late 90s. We had to make a minimum of $450 a day just to cover overhead. And we did our best to make sure that those customers that paid that $450 a day through coffee and pastries and stuff like that, um, yeah, we had to make we did our best to make sure that the customers that put that money in our till were decent people, but we couldn't always afford to make sure that they were and kick out the bad ones. Okay. That literally is just the nature of business. Um, it sucks a lot. Um, and so a lot of places can't regulate their clientele. So I didn't play Warhammer 40K for the longest time, still don't, because the venues that were open play. Um, I'll answer that question in just a few. Call of Fortnite. Um, a lot of those places that have those bad clientels can't afford to get rid of them, or they can't afford the risk of getting rid of them in hopes that people like me that have had bad experiences will come back and spend the same amount. All right. I don't expect places like um places like all those artsy places that I talked about before um just completely regulate. One of them tried and they got rid of a lot of problem people. But they can only get rid of the ones who are overtly problematic, you know, the ones that use epithets and not the ones who are quietly terrible. Um, and I'm going to give you an example of quietly Ren Fair Day. Um, at Ren Fair, there are a bunch of people that love swords. They love swords. Okay? It was the place where a lot of folks that call themselves mall samurais. The people that go to the mall and buy a bunch of swords and put them on the windows and put them on the walls and stuff like that, and take sword fighting classes, as though that's how warfare was still fought. They have them, And real talk, I'm one of those people. So I'm only seeing you guys because I'm one of you. I'm not judging you. All right. We have that passion. We have that thing. And a lot of people get together with Shinai, which are bamboo practice swords that are used in kendo, and they have little sparring matches and stuff like that. And I always wondered for the longest time why, if I go to a Shinai circle with a lot of these people, I see them Shinaiing with each other, and it's all cool. And sometimes I'll be invited, or sometimes I'll ask to spar, and so I do. And then I notice people stop using swords and start using bats against me. They hit harder. It looks like they're trying to actually harm. And this happened to me with a lot of people who are even friends of the ones that I hang out with. And then time passed, and a lot of those people became hardcore Trump supporters and MAGA people, and some of them were Charlottesville apologists. Okay. So, in a nutshell, it turned out they were white supremacists. Some of them were soft white supremacists, some of them were hard ones. Okay. And I'm like, oh, maybe there was a skin color component to the level of aggression they showed when we were that kind of. And as time moves on and I become older, I see a lot more. And that's one type of thing, because this was not a singular incident. This happened to me almost daily in the 10 years that I worked at the Renaissance. Um, yeah, I mean, whenever there was a chance to, I guess you could say, publicly humiliate or physically assault me in an acceptable fashion, there were always people that would jump on that. Um, And it bothered me. And then I would talk to my friends who didn't look like me, and they would find reasons to justify why it wasn't racism. And during the Me Too movement, I heard a lot of that stuff about why it's not sexism. And I saw the mental gymnastics that good people go through to not recognize a lot of these things. And that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about, because I have a lot of people who don't have those feelings. I populate people. I populate my life with people that don't feel like that. In fact, while I was fixing my technical difficulties, I was on the phone with one of my ride or dies, you know, and he was like, "Yeah, if anybody did that kind of stuff, they'd have to go through me." And I'm like, "I appreciate that, but what I have to show you, um, what I have to show you is that it's not that somebody would do that. I'm not concerned about the person that would try and physically assault me. I'm concerned about the person that would call the police when they see the altercation. Because when the police show up, I'm the bad guy until proven otherwise, you know? And a lot of people know this and they use that. Not to mention, a lot of these things happen in places where it's not safe for a person that looks like me to travel through. And it's not safe for a person that's LGBTQ and might have a rainbow bumper sticker on their car to travel through. You know, I have friends that live in amazingly pretty neighborhoods, and I tell them I can't visit you because if I leave your house after dark, I can't guarantee that I'll be able to get to the freeway without being pulled over and have 5 warning shots to my back for resisting. It's just, this is a reality that a lot of people have to live with. And these are only pieces of my reality. Okay. So when you guys are out there and you're inviting your friends to play, um, it's always good and considerate to think about what the cost, not the price, but the cost of the people that you invite to play will have to pay. Because a lot of times they'll have to pay a cost that you don't. Okay. I know a lot of folks. Hey, we got the Nerdy Brew. Hey, what's going on, bro? Um, yeah, thank you for being here. And y'all need to check out his channel. He does amazing film reviews. On YouTube. It's the Nerdy Brew on YouTube. So, and again, Back in the Deck Productions is a place that wants to facilitate inclusion. All right, we are all here because we're all nerds and artists, or as Pink Floyd would call us, the bleeding hearts and artists. We're real. All right, we're there. We're all about playing games and putting on Jedi robes and playing with lightsabers and picking up our toy soldiers and going pew 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 and getting into the age old argument of if Goku can beat Superman in a fight. We are not talking about that today. Um, and a lot of the times that we forget that there are a lot of folks out there that would um that would seriously love our company, and they know that we would love stuff, but they don't know that there's a cost that we have to consider in going places. I like to equate it to those of us out there that know attractive women and we want to invite them to a party, you know? Um, it's the 21st century, guys. Y'all know how the world is out. So when you invite an attractive woman to a party, you keep in mind that there might be unsavory people there. You come up with ways to make sure that your friend is safe. Like if that attractive woman is your sister, you go through a whole checklist to make sure that stuff is going down. And if that checklist gets too long, you let them know. I think you would have fun there, but it's a little too dangerous. You know, you keep these things in mind. And we've come a long way in the United States with that particular mindset of that kind of prevention when it comes to our siblings. But we have to keep in mind that there's a lot of things that we have to consider when we invite people along that might not be like us, you know? Um, if you want to invite a friend to an event and that friend that you want to invite's in a wheelchair, you got to make sure there are ramps, right? You know, I mean, real talk. You got to make sure that they have ramps that are wheelchair accessible. If you invite your friends that aren't, um, I guess you can say, acceptable in a lot of circles, you don't just have to think about whether or not you are like the people that are the problem, but what's the ratio of problematic people to you and people like you? What's the road traveling there? Like, that thing in the desert or Burning Man happens in the middle of the Nevada desert, 2 to 3 hours outside of Reno, Nevada. All right. This is huge. Okay. Because, you guys have seen the freaking Netflix specials and the news reports. So there's a lot of drugs at Burning Man. Okay. And that's not my jam, but there are a lot there. It is an environment where they permeate. But Nevada is a zero tolerance state. Okay. So when I go to Burning Man, I can't go in a truck that's blinged out with all this Burning Man paraphernalia and the whole experience of going, woo, look at my cool car. I'm going to Burning Man. Because if I'm driving through northern Nevada, Cliven Bundy territory, in a car that's obviously going somewhere where there are loads and loads of drugs, that's probable cause for a bad acting police officer. I have to make sure that I'm innocuous. I can't cut through mountain towns because it might not be a deliverance level of mountain town. It might not be the hills have eyes type place for regular people, but it might not be in the historical green book. And these are things that I always have to consider and I have to put out there for people that I'm riding with. Okay. I cannot tell you how many times my girlfriends, because I date interracially, I like people, but I can't tell you how many times my girlfriends have been pulled over for broken taillights when I was in the passenger seat, just so the cop can make sure that they weren't being kidnapped. That's just the world that we live in. And um and a lot of amazingly awesome people go to these events and go to these places. And a lot of you deckers out there go to game stores and gaming clubs and stuff like that, where you have a good time and want to share that good time with the people in your life that you care about. But a lot of those people in your life may not be welcomed on the way to those places or in those places. And it's real easy. It's real easy. Just hold up before you start typing. It's very easy to be like, well, if anybody has a problem with my friend, then they have to go through me. However, that also requires you to do two things, and that is recognize the language of these isms, um, and to believe your friends when they tell you about the experience of what they're going through. I'm quick to jump down my friend's throat when they tell me it's not because you're black, because I have way more experience in this area than they do, so I know what it looks like. And a lot of my friends who aren't my skin color only equate bad acting racism to pointy hats and burning crosses, not during the sword fighting brawl. These people are coming at you with full force while yelling. It's like, well, that's just their fighting style. And they don't see that it wasn't their fighting style with the last four people they were sparring with that didn't look like, you know? Um, and this is one of the ignorant things that come with a lot of unintentional bad actors. I know I've had a lot of friends that have been victims of various assaults. And it really educated me when it comes to essays. That's how we have to say it on the internet so we're not demonetized. Um, that it's more than the full act of the ugly stuff, you know? Um, it's the stuff that takes away their bandwidth or uses up their spoon. The amount of cat calls that they go, the amount of people that talk to them nicely with an undertone of creep, you know? Um, like, again, the whole idea that when you invite a pretty relative to a party, they may have to keep their drinks close to them in ways that you don't. You know, this is what I'm talking. Um, and these are things to keep in mind. You know, picking the environments that people are in and understanding what those environments actually are, and not just how they are through the filter of your own experience. Okay. Um, Glenn Couch in the chat is saying it's amazing what people tolerate because they like something. It's true. When I've talked about my experiences at a lot of these places, I've had a lot of people come to me saying, well, no, I mean, it's blah, blah, blah. I can't tell you how many times I've said bad stuff about one particular Renaissance fair, and my attractive female friends are going, that's not my experience there. People there are really nice to me. I'm like, you're a really pretty girl who wears stuff that exposes her cleavage. They don't treat you the same way they treat me. I mean that's just real. Um, so Call of Fortnite is actually doing a lot of questions. I'm going to answer the first one that you asked, which was, have I ever met any of those bad people that have made turnaround? Yes, I have. Um, I'll let you guys know my hope is not born in a vacuum. Y'all. I know that there are far more good people in this world than there are bad people. And when I say people, I mean people. And I also know that a lot of the bad actors don't really harbor that hatred, that resentment toward um, all these people. A lot of them are culturally indoctrinated because of lack of exposure. If you're not watching from the United States, this is a very large landmass. And we have a lot of places. The middle of this country are called flyover states. In Australia, they would call that the outback or the bush. But we have flyover states. And those flyover states are not very densely populated. So there's a lot of places there where people don't like black people, don't like Jewish people, don't like LGBT because they've never had personal experiences with it. All they know are the ways that people are portrayed in media. So they think black people are criminals and gangsters because those are the types of movies that get published and distributed out there. They think, when the fact of the matter is, people is people. Everybody's diverse, and not one section of any sector is unique. We're not a monolith. Let's see, Nerdy Brew. It would be nice to freely enjoy our hobbies, but there are those bad. There really are. And when you're from what I call the disenfranchised part, people of color, women, LGBTQ, the neurodivergent, the physically disabled, and the poor. Let us not forget the fiscally disenfranchised. And if you grew up in a trailer park, I grew up in the hood. And so you and I can come real together when I say there are too many friends who forget that we are broke. All right? Like real talk. And I mean that. Um, mhm, mhm, mhm. Neon, you're gonna have to rewrite that thing and leave out the K word because my automod is like, hey, so you can call them pointy hats, you can call them dunces, but that kind of thing. And yeah, we got Roland saying, you want diversity? Look at the average army platoon. That's diversity. Real, right? That's real. All right, because the army will take anybody, but that's a whole different thing. But yeah, so there are, but like I said, it's really easy to equate your experiences to the ones around people that you're around. But we all have different experiences. I know I grew up poor. So I've had people saying, "What do you mean? It's only $10?" And I'm like, "Then you pay." Cuz I ain't got $10. I can't afford to go to the movies with you, man. I'm broke. You know? And they're like, "What? You can't even get $10?" I'm like, "If you can get an extra, I'll go with you." But no, I can't. And just wrapping their heads around that is hard. I still have a lot of friends that wrap my head around the fact that I can't visit them and stay after the sun goes because they might live in a sun. Um, I can't go to a lot of places where there'll be big dudes drinking who might want to be violent because a lot of these bad actors don't even know that they're on the wrong side of history because they live in a fishbowl, you know? Um, like when I talk about I don't talk a whole lot about politics, guys. Not on the channel. I talk a whole lot about it in my personal life, but on the channel I don't. But I have a couple of friends who are libertarian, and that's a political ideology I can't get down behind. Primarily because most libertarians that I've ever met don't fully understand what generational disenfranchisement means. So they come up with they follow their political ideology that's based on this idea that everyone is born equally with equal resources, equal opportunities to access of things. Okay. Um, let's see. Yeah. WW2 was a exception. Um, it had its points. It had its point. Um, Post World War II was when America was on its best track in that area, and we still have a long way to go in every area. And if you guys are wondering, I'm just gonna put this out there. Um, One, I say personhood and people a lot because anthropologically speaking, and you can talk to an anthropologist, call up any university, they will be happy to talk to you. Person is actually a rating of status. Okay, it really is. A lot of people ask, I don't understand how people could look at other people like less than human. I'm like, because those people don't see folks as people. All right. Um, Anthropologically speaking, it is a status that is attained and bestowed by people with power. All right. So personhood is part of franchise. Socially, we're getting past that, but we haven't cleaned up the mess um from that mindset, from those traditions. So, water filled meat bags. We really are, and it's good to know that you're a droid, Roland. um, but yeah, so yeah, some of us are, stupid bags of mostly water, but there's a difference between humans and people, and humans bestow personhood upon other humans, but don't bestow personhood on certain humans. And this is what I have to put today, because in a lot of these places, a lot of these artsy places that I love going in theory, the participants of there do not bestow personhood upon me. Therefore, they don't treat me as though I was a person. And a lot of places that you guys go don't bestow personhood on the LGBT people or disabled people or people of color. That's my point. And a lot of people grew up not having exposure to human beings that don't have their same traditions or their same ancestral heritage. And they don't realize that they're not bestowing personhood upon those people. And once pointed out, once pointed out, um, once pointed out, a lot of those folks are going, dude, no, I gotta fix that. And I know here in the United States, in LA especially, there's a lot of things that takes away points from personhood. Skin color, sexual orientation, religious beliefs, um, weight, because um, that folks are dehumanized or their personhood is removed in a lot of factors. I live in LA, y'all. We got Hollywood, so it's real. It's a lot. It's real. Um, well, most people prefer their own pets to anyone else. Call of Fortnite. Let's be real. All right. I've lived in a lot of different places where when I moved in, that person had a cat, and if that cat was sitting in a chair, I had to wait. And so did their husband, or so did their kids. Like the cat was more important than anybody else in the house. Um, and I know once I get my Tibetan Mastiff, Mouse is pretty much gonna have run of the house. Like I could stop him. Oh, you're doing data work for immigration. Congratulations, man. Civil service is real, and that is awesome. Um, so like I was saying, I'm pointing all of this stuff out because a lot of the times we don't realize that the folks around us that we care about aren't as welcome in a lot of places that we're at. So, what do we do? How do we identify these things? How do we go about setting safe spaces for the people that we care about. Okay, how do we make sure that we're inviting them to somewhere that it doesn't cost them as much emotional bandwidth to go as it does? Well, this weekend, I put on my personal Facebook post the places that I don't want to be invited to. Why? All right. Hey, what's going on, Ganja? Yes, I want a Tibetan Mastiff, and I'm gonna name him Mouse, and my next cat will be named Mister because I'm a nerd. Okay, if you know, you know. Um, the big thing on that is I kind of put that out there because a friend of mine had to cancel plans on me going to their house and we were gonna play some music, but they invited me to go with them to the Renaissance Fair, and I'm just like, oh, why aren't people listening? Right? So I had to put out why I don't want to be invited to these places and stuff. But the next post is going to be part of this broadcast on a second thing, kind of like a podcast after a TV show. Um, of all right, so just because I don't want to go to these places that will have these people, there are still things that I would like to do with the people that I care about. You know, um, when I point out that I don't like stuff, a lot of people go, well, and I'm like, no, it's not that I don't like you, okay? Um, I would love to hang out with you, just not in these particular environments. So it's like, yeah, you want to go to a game store and get a couple of games in? Absolutely. You want to come over for coffee? Sure. You want to go to a place that's not populated by these types of people, or in a town that isn't populated by these types of people, or through areas like, again, I live in the greater Los Angeles area. Um, hmm, and there are a lot of cities out here with very corrupt police departments. I would say them by name, but I'm on the internet and I don't want that kind of smoke. My lawyer is already drowning in terror. But when it comes to certain places to go, I'm like, sorry guys, I'm not safe to go there. um, so I don't go to those particular places. Okay. Let's see. Leonardo Aquino, I remember when I first became disabled, it was a work injury and I was having trouble grabbing anything. I still firmly remember my supervisor saying a Mexican wouldn't complain about it. Such a weird and dehumanizing comment. Funny thing is that years later, I saw some old family photos and learned that I'm heavily part Mexican. Now, Neon, I know what area you live in, and that is not a surprising statement. You know, and this is a great thing to. This is a great example of what I'm talking about. His boss at that moment probably doesn't know the level of wrongness that's okay, um, and doesn't believe themselves to be that kind of unacceptable. Okay. Because they probably don't wear pointy hats and they probably don't burn crosses, and that's the line they set. Um, however, I now know when it comes to that particular business, I know who not to send there. You know? Mm, yeah, exactly, Roland. That position of personhood was bestowed upon you and yours in the 1950s, where it wasn't before. So I'm guessing you're Italian, or Irish, one of the two, probably Irish. But yeah, and that's a really big thing. And that being the case, that meant for a long time, um, there were places that the system, Portuguese and Irish. Okay, yeah, man, yeah, you still probably get crap for being Portuguese. Um, Although I personally love Portugal because I love seafood as much as not happy with them historically because I'm also part Brazilian. You know. Um, so yeah. Um, so the fact of the matter is, um, when my friends are like, "Well, where can we hang out?" I'll give a list, and I also make it clear that I don't have the tolerance for those places right now. And when I do have the tolerance, I will make it known and I will probably ask to accompany. But until that day, I'm still out of spoons. And I had to put all these things in print to make sure that more people can internalize it. Okay. Because that's the thing. It's our responsibilities to internalize the prices that a lot of other people have to pay when we want those people in our lives. Okay. So this is really big. Oh, and if you're reading the comments, Roland, we got Garrett Smith going, yeah, but I don't blame him, that kind of things. Your ancestor did that. And Garrett, if I'm correct in this, Garrett doesn't blame you for what your great 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 grandfather did, and I don't blame you for that. And again, part Brazilian. Um, so yeah, it's a thing we have to keep in mind that I know I met a really good friend of mine, and I'm pretty sure they're watching. At a gaming store that I kind of liked but kind of didn't. And it was in a city that was okay. The city was okay. I met him in Garden Grove, California, at a store that I'd had bad experiences with in the past. Okay. And it turned out it wasn't skin color based. It was just the owner of that store didn't like people very much. um, mm, Angola. Um, so, so with that, um, but that doesn't mean I didn't meet this person or go out there and make a friend and all that stuff. And that doesn't mean that I won't go visit this friend. But friend and I, um, when they're able to drive, we meet up in a neutral place like the city of Long Beach. Um, you know. Now, thank you, Call of Fortnite, and thank you for keeping us on task. Do I think bad actors are what drive away new players from trying gaming? Yes. Bad actors, and bad actors come in two flavors. Um, you'll hear me on this channel say a lot of things like soft and hard. Okay? And there are soft bad actors. These are bad actors who are just being themselves in ways that were acceptable in the environments that they come from, but aren't acceptable outside of those environments. Those bad actors tend to be the ones that complain when new editions of games come out, or haze new players. Okay. And then there are ones that just don't want certain people around. Those are the hard bad actors. Okay, those are the ones that I've come across. Um, yeah, exactly, Neon Arlecchino. You and I probably missed out on a decade of friendship because of bad actors at Games Workshop. Um, and that's real talk. It's truth because I'm not comfortable. I don't feel socially safe going into a Games Workshop store in Southern California. I'm just not. You know, I mean, let's be real. 40K is not exactly progressive in its storytelling, and it's not supposed to be because it's actual satire. But there are a lot of people who take that satire seriously, but not as satire. And those are a lot of the people that populate those stores. Stores don't care what kind of customers they got as long as they're spending $1,100 a month, you know? So it's a real thing. So can I meet up with them at, yeah, just like Magnus did nothing wrong. Um, so the fact of the matter is, I can't meet up with this friend at a Games Workshop store, but I can meet up with him at a different friendly local game store, and that's what I mean. You know, um, Neon would never call me up and say, "Hey, come down to a Games Workshop store." Okay, they would never do that because they know. Oh, you play Imperial Guard? That's good to know. I like the movie Starship Troopers. You know, I'm just aware of the difference. I'm aware of what I'm doing, and I'm aware that it's satire. And you know, so it's definitely there. Still waiting to the book is better. The book is different. The book isn't satire. The movie is. You see the different. The medium's the message, and that's a conversation for another day. But because the movie was literally a commentary on, yeah, the big F word can happen, and it can happen in broad daylight. It can be very normalized, and it doesn't come with a freaking the same kind of tints and filters that you see in a lot of other movies. Hey, we got Jenna G. Hey, what's going on? So when it comes down to these, when you want to invite your friends to something that you think they might enjoy, it's really, really important that you would think not just about why they would enjoy it, but what are the factors that might be there that would make them not enjoy it? What would be the reasons that they would say no? And don't doubt the legitimacy of those reasons. You know, I have a lot of friends that believe that since no one's ever screamed the N word at me at these places, that kind of stuff doesn't exist. And then I bring up the sword fighting example that I brought up, and the first thing they do is, well, that I'm like, no, really, dude, that's what it looks like. When I was at one of these art festivals, there was a dude that was giving away watermelon, and he was asking people, "Hey, you want some watermelon? You want some watermelon? Would you like a piece of watermelon? Hey, you, would you like a piece of watermelon?" He looked at me, and this is my impression, and he said, "Now I know you want a piece of watermelon." And if I weren't on my way to perform a wedding, um, he would have had a real hard time eating the rest of his watermelon without a few. Okay? And he probably wasn't saying that out of malice, because I'm a person that does not ascribe malice to incompetence. Okay, I don't say these people mean terrible things. Yeah, I don't say these people say or mean terrible things because they're bad. I say these people doing mean terrible things because they don't know. Um, and that's a real thing. I'm going to change my filters quick. Hello, color correction, because I'm feeling a little washed. Turn the gamma down just a little. Bump up the contrast just a bit. Turn the brightness. You know, hey, what's going on, Anomalous Daniel? And let me get some more color in here. I like the color. That should be better. I think I look a little better. I'll know later on when I look at the other footage, because a lot of the announcements and stuff I've been doing have been really, really washed out, and I haven't liked it. Washed out means too much bright white. Um, and I have a rich colored stage. I want you guys to show that. So yeah, the ways around it would be that. For my friends in Orange County, California, they're finally starting to wrap their heads around the fact that it's really not safe for me to be in most of those cities after dark. And if I do hang out with them, I make it clear which cities in that county I'll be cool in to visit them and hang out with them and play games, and where I'll feel safe going home from leaving their presence. I've got a very, very good friend that lives in a really nice house in a really nice neighborhood, but I don't feel safe driving from their house to the freeway after the sun goes down. So I can't go visit them and play with their baby. Um, unless it's in the morning and I'm out of there by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you know? So yeah, it's a thing. What best advice for people to meet bad actors? Um, if you come across a bad actor, actually, could you clarify that question? Um, do you mean if they come across someone who's being a bad actor to them, or a bad actor to someone they know? And that's because there are two different ways. Um, yeah, yeah, soft R is tiring. Folks let it slide more than outright, or more than hard R's. Um, it's so tasteless for folks that might even agree with it. It's true. Mm. Um, so if someone they know is meeting a bad actor themselves, like if you have a friend who knows a bad actor and that bad actor is behaving poorly to someone else, okay? Um, or if one of your friends is a bad actor, asides are great. And asides are important because if you call them out in public, they'll be loud and they'll defend their actions, because they're gonna defend their actions. If you take them for a quiet aside, um, or allowed or putting their stuff out on Front Street, as my people call it, um, it can cause a scene because most people will always act in defense of what they do. All right, a lot of people don't want to be held accountable for actions, intended or not, and I've seen it 1,000 times. I've seen people fall back on, well, I didn't mean to, when it comes to something that they did. And this is where I bring the glass metaphor in, where if someone knocks a glass off of a table and it shatters, focus on cleaning up the glass instead of focusing on whether or not the person who knocked over the glass meant to knock over the glass. And most people will defend themselves against these actions as though they are being accused of picking up a glass and throwing it on the ground versus knocking a table or carrying something that knocked the glass over. A lot of things happen by accident. Um, but yeah, oh, bad actors like Karen. Well, you could pull them aside and call them out. Um, you could you could confront them publicly. But what's important on that one is when a bad actor is acting badly to one of your friends, do what you think you're going to do, which is defend your friend. However, this episode is that that thing. Okay, this episode is about something that's a little more insidious. And that is when a bad actor is being bad to people in ways that you don't recognize. Okay? And the way to learn whether or not, the way to learn these things is to listen to those who have been offended. You know, um, there's a great episode of Teen Titans that I love, right? The team comes across another alien who's like an interstellar superhero, and this person hates Starfire, just hates her, because he hates all people from her planet, and he calls her an alien slang name, and he's nice and he's cordial and he's being cool with everybody around, but he keeps calling her this one name, and he gives everyone else nicknames so he's calling everyone else nicknames and calling her an epithet. Okay? An epithet is an insulting word if you guys are still in high school and don't know what. And Cyborg is like, oh man, what's going on? Yeah, he gave me this cool nickname. I notice he's calling you this all the time. Like, what does that mean? And Starfire says it means nothing. And Cyborg thinks that she means it's no big deal, okay? But it's because of Starfire's voice patterns. And then Cyborg calls her that word and her heart just shatters and she's like, how could you say something like that to me? How can you be so mean? And Cyborg is like, what? No, I didn't. It was the same thing he calls you. You said it didn't mean anything. And she says, no, I said that it means nothing. He's calling me nothing, you know. And Cyborg didn't know, but as soon as she said that, he heard her. He listened. And that was the thing. You know, that's what a lot of bad actors do sometimes. You know, they will give everybody cool nicknames, and then to the person they don't want around, they'll call them nothing. You know, and when the person who has been called that nickname is not trying to make a fuss, because most of the time when a person has been insulted or psychologically assaulted that way, they don't tend to speak up because speaking up does results in two different things. One is the party that committed the offense gets defended because, defended, not offended, but the person that the hurt party is talking to will defend the person who committed the offense because they don't understand what the offense was and they don't see it as a big deal. You know, gone are the days where we go, you hurt my friend, it's time to throw down. We've been conditioned by TV and a lot of other things to look at our friend that has been offended and say, dude, you're taking stuff too serious, you know? And the blowback on that is huge on the internet. Like, that's why there's so many accusations of gaslighting. But again, I don't attribute to malice, that's which can be explained by incompetence. All right. So to learn the language, you have to listen to the people who are affected by it. This is how we can be better. You know? Let's see, have I ever yelled swear words at bad actors because they were being bad actors to your friends? Yes, but not often, and I will tell you why. Because I hang out in a lot of spaces that aren't welcoming to people that look like me. And so when I yell swear words, or when I come down on people from a great height, I know that I risk someone looking at what I'm doing because when you look like me, guys, I'm sorry to tell you, when you look like me, you don't get the benefit of the doubt. You're not innocent until proven guilty. A lot of places and a lot of environments, I'm looked at as an animal that is going to attack someone at any time under any provocation, right? So I've had to deal a lot with people telling me that I'm making threats at people when I talk about defending myself from stuff that I'm afraid of. So, given that, when I've yelled at people for saying the wrong thing to one of my woman friends, or for showing discrimination of some sort, what that person did that I'm yelling at them about gets put backstage because now the new subject is a 6'4", 200-pound black dude is angry, yelling, and cussing. This is why I do asides. Okay. Um, because once the 6'4" black man is angry and yelling, people call the police, and the police show up and they see a 6'4", 200-pound black angry black dude, and they draw guns, and everything escalates. Um, so the thing is, yes, I do know, and I do believe, and I have seen that every kind of person can be a bad actor. Don't live in a world where everybody gets along with everybody. And yeah, I have seen. I've had to call out family members for being rude to my friends that didn't look like me. And I've had to call out family members for being homophobic and transphobic. And like I've had to do a whole lot of that. I have a lot of asides with a lot of people. You know, one I mean, I told you guys I was on the phone earlier with one of my ride or dies. And that ride or die and I have conversations all the time where I'm going, dude, your heart was in the right place, but your action did not land well. You know? Um, and at the same time, it's, oh yeah, we got Garrett Smith over on YouTube saying, narrator, the people passing by don't know what the black dude, that the black dude is the hero. Exactly. You know, a lot of people at the game store don't know that the girl is better at the game than the person that she's playing. You know, um, and that's well, thank you. Although it's not changing people that I'm really out for. I love the idea that people can improve because it's not an idea, it's a fact. Everybody can. Um, but really, this place is out there for people that are like us, who need somewhere to go where they don't feel alone. That's the number one thing. Um, Not necessarily true, Roland. I promise you this. You know, if you and I are walking down the street and a black and white goes by, I promise you won't be looked at as the bad guy. Um, but you do make a really good point, which is so you keep your head down. Um, and this is a big thing that I want to address. You know, because what I'm talking about doesn't just go one way. All right. There is a real thing. Like I have like real talk, y'all. Most of my friends are white. Most of my friends. I'm not like, yeah, I got a white friend. I'm no, no. Most of my friends are white. Um, so a lot of my friends don't get invitations to my family cookouts. You know, because I know my cousins. um, and a lot of my cousins are bad actors. You know, um, but given that, I know a lot of my cousins aren't bad actors. So I facilitate stuff saying, yeah, I'm doing this thing at my house. And you're invited to come to my house with my people in my house, which means you will be behaving under proper decorum. You know, there are rules from my house. And when I put together events, I keep that stuff in mind as well. Because, real talk, yeah, you're right, Fortnite, Call of Fortnite. Everyone needs a safe space. Meaning everyone needs somewhere that they're welcomed. You know, what do? You mean my cousins? My cousins get real passive aggressive around white people. They can't be outwardly aggressive because the police are still on white people's side, but they'll be rude and they'll push aside people. My family will act toward white people the way you see jocks act toward nerds in movies from the late 90s and early 2000s. And that's not cool. That is absolutely not cool. Um, so yeah, I'm the guy in the middle fighting a lot of battles on a lot of fronts. All right. But um it's really important, guys, to keep in mind that these things are real and they're out there. Okay. And this isn't just me being political on back on the deck for once in a very, very long time. But this is real stuff that comes into play when you're putting together a gaming group, when you're looking for a venue to play games at, you know. Um, hmm. I mean, it's oh yeah, the side comments and the side eyes. Thank you, thanks, Ganja, because but also I know you've been to my house, a few times, you know. Um, so yeah, that's a thing, and there were many members of my family that were not here, when we had the cookout, and you were invited. I didn't invite them. Um, so yeah, do I think all the bad history and bad blood between people of different races cause the bad actors? Um, that's a chicken and the egg thing, okay? Because the bad history and bad blood, um, was overt for hundreds of years, and then it became covert for the past few decades. And that covert stuff, the soft stuff, the passive thing, that's the stuff that does the most damage, you know? Sometimes it is overt, and overt is easy to navigate. I was actually talking to someone who was talking about um, the neighboring state to California, Oregon. And in Oregon, there's a whole lot of hard R stuff that's there that's very reminiscent of the antebellum South. And I'm like, I'm trained for that. I can go to Oregon and I know how to navigate that. Um, but in the big cities, most big cities that you go to, very few people wear the point. Very few people shave their heads and put on the red shoe. That's real talk. All right. But most of the time, they make a bunch of comments. They act overly aggressive. Um, if you're at the gaming table and one of your friends is metagaming against another player at the table, those are a lot of those. Um, I'm not going to answer that question, Call of Fortnite. But there are lots. Yeah, yeah. Um, Thanks, man. Yeah, Mama Grade did respect that. That's why you were welcome to come back. And that's a thing. Um, yeah, it's true. It's so true because the stuff in California is a different language. And the people in California hold themselves to this thing that they're above the people in Alabama because they don't express these things the same way as they do as in Alabama. Because in Alabama, they'll come out and say, we don't rent to queers. We don't rent to people that look like you. They'll say those words in Alabama, where in California, they'll say, I need a cosigner. Credit rating wasn't high enough. Or we've gotten certain complaints, which is why we have to let you go. Or it's just not working. Or I'm sorry, man, I've just been really busy. Stuff like that. It's very passive. Um, but that doesn't mean that the people on the receiving end of it can't see it. Um, so with that being said, if someone in your life is on the receiving end of it, listen, hear them out, you know, and hear them out with the intention on hearing them out and not with the intention of hearing what they have to say and coming up with a counter so that it's not the big R and it's not the phobia. Okay. Because all that does is it dehumanizes, it removes the personhood of the victim, you know. So I'll tell you this. Hmm. Oh no, I can't let bad actors stop me from enjoying gaming, but I will tell you that a set of bad actors did turn me off from a few games. I mean, we're talking Warhammer 40K, Marvel Crisis Protocol, and practically anything related to Star Wars. Um, But that doesn't mean that I'm going to stop gaming. It just means um, I gather up guys like you, like all of you that are watching this channel, and say, hey, let's get together and do some stuff. Like in Bellflower next Saturday, the Saturday that's coming up at the Guildhouse Games. You see what I did there? That was a segue. That was, yeah. At 5 p.m., like from 5 to 8, we're gonna be there officially doing stuff, and I'm probably gonna get there early and set up cameras and all that stuff, and maybe film a battle report for Grimdark Future and stuff like that. It can be a thing. Um, but yeah, mm, yes, I do. The question that Call of Fortnite has, because he's always full of questions, is do I think people who weren't always bad actors can sometimes be turned into bad actors? Yes, actually. I say quite often that context determines meaning. And I've recently started to saying that all of us are fish in are in our individual fish bowls. Okay, people who aren't bad actors, well, people in general will go to where they're welcomed and they will adapt themselves to make sure they stay there. This is something that I was studying for some of my meetings on Tuesday night down by the docks on how these bad organizations and violent groups actually get people in because people don't feel this way. And essentially, bad actors always start as lonely people who are looking for someone to belong. And the worst actors, and I'm sorry to tell you guys, to quote Prophecy, which was a movie from the 90s where Viggo Mortensen, good old Aragorn, played the devil. He said, I'm always open, even on Christmas, you know? Um, and a lot of lonely people are welcomed by bad actors because bad actors, when they've decided that you are one of the types of people they want to be around, they'll always answer the phone. They'll always show up and they'll sprinkle in their bad action. They'll give you crap at the gaming table and make you feel bad and then take you aside at the end and soothe that pain they caused until um um playing as a bad sport or condescending to people, calling people names is something that a lot of people just think is part of the culture. Okay. It's very much death by inches. Um, um, uh, in truth, so the question is growing up in my environment that did I ever think that I could become a bad actor if it wasn't for gaming fine? Real talk, I can speak on this with so much authority because I was a bad actor. Okay. I might be a 6'4" black man, but I'm still a man. And I was terrible to women at gaming tables. I made a whole lot of SA jokes when I'm gaming with my guy friends. And one of my fire breathing students was at my apartment learning to play Star Trek Attack Wing, and I was making so many SA jokes, and my friend that I was playing with was making so many jokes. And she had to be like, could you guys stop talking about that? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm sorry. I didn't even, my bad. You know, I took accountability for it and I didn't even know that I was being a bad actor. And in a lot of ways, I'm still a bad actor in ways that I haven't learned are bad yet, you know? And so I have to keep my eye out for that. I was brought up, excuse me, in a culture that isn't very respectful to women under the age of 40. And I really, yeah, exactly, Roland. We are all bad actors in one way or another. But that is no reason to stay one. We can all be better, you know. That is human nature to be bad, but it's also in human nature to improve. If you don't believe me, go to an airport. Okay, it's human nature to walk. We can fly. Um, yes, it's how we deal with it, or more to the point, it's about how we behave in the face of the realization that we can be the bad guys or we are being the bad guys, you know? Um, the two most famous superheroes in the world right now are Batman and Superman. And those two keep each other in check all the time. All the time. Batman is like, hey, you're not human. You keep expecting the best out of people, but you need to realize that you're better than most people in ways that people equate to better. So check yourself. They're not that good. And Superman's always going, yeah, but they ain't that bad either. You need to start seeing better stuff in people, you know, because there's always that push and pull. Because big shot, guys, human beings are complex creatures, and the world that we've created is filled. Well, it is very complex because it is made up of a bunch of smaller complexes that in themselves are complex. Why am I speaking this way? Because I really want to push the point of complexity because we fall into traps by trying to oversimplify things. Oh, that's just Ron. It's not because you're a girl. Well, no, it's not because you're black. It's because you talk with your hands and you're a big guy. You know, any explanation that we can find to simplify the situation so that we don't have to deal with discomfort. But things are more complex than that, you know? And, we live in a complex world with complex people. Not everybody who does sexist things are sexist. Not everyone who do racist things are pointy hat wearing cross burners, you know? A lot of the times people don't even know. Like, there's a saying called the rule of thumb, which is used in the context of, well, the way that everybody does it normally. But that comes from, the rule of thumb is actually a measurement of how thick a piece of wood or an acceptable, or how to measure how to measure the thickness of the piece of wood you are using to beat your wife is. Okay, but most people say, hey, yeah, okay, it's a rule, it's an old wives' tale. It might be. But the term gyp is a racial epithet. Hey, that person gypped me. Like, that's a racial because of what it means, where it comes from, and how it was. Now I used to say that all the time until I had a friend who was Romani and they told me what it meant and what they heard um when I said that. And I didn't even know I was being um oh, okay, good to know. The length of a cannon's fuse. Awesome. Maybe I'll start using that phrase again. But either way, and thank you for pointing out that historical thing. Please leave a link to where other people can read it. Okay? Um, but yeah, so literally, literally, we all have moments. We all step in it. Okay. Nobody lives a life where they've never stepped in dog or cat poo. And these things are dog and cat poo. So not every actor is a bad actor with the intention on being terrible. However, there are people out there that do so. And the people that do so are subtle most of the time. Unless you're in a place like Mississippi where it's still socially acceptable to do all that. Let's see. Dialectics taught me lesson and funny that lesson and funny enough um made me a nicer person. Yeah. Yeah, funny enough made you a nicer person. Yeah, it's a real thing because it's very easy, especially in Western civilization, with our ego investment of our culture, for us to equate ourselves with our history, everyone around us. And this is something that I see a lot in places where people are trying to be better, or where people are trying not to be the bad guy if they're not trying to be well, I'm not like this. I may have said something that hurt their feelings, but I didn't mean to. And it's like, dude, stop changing the subject of the conversation. The glass is knocked over, and now there's a bunch of sharded glass on the floor. Let's clean up the glass before we assign blame. But our culture, being as punitive as it is, wants to assign blame and punish. And it makes people more afraid of being punished for doing something than the damage that that thing that they're being punished for causes. You know, i.e., we don't teach that murdering people is not a cool thing to do. We teach that if you murder somebody, you're going to go to jail, you know? So, and we think that if jail isn't a thing that people will murder. Well, let me change that metaphor to theft. Stealing is bad, okay? But it's not, don't steal from people because the person that you're stealing from might not be able to afford to take the hit. And you might be taking food out of their children's mouths. It's don't steal because you'll go to jail. I mean, it's that simple. And there are a lot of bad actors that just like stealing, but most people don't realize the impact of their actions. And so, I try and keep this in mind, knowing that I don't fully understand the impact of a lot of actions that I perform, but I try and get better. And being a person who is on the receiving end of a lot of bad actors' activities and who have had to have lots and lots of fights with my friends about how it was the R word and how the R word is expressed this way and how it makes me feel and how I don't want to put myself in a situation where I'm stranded at a place that makes me feel this way is a hard lesson to teach. Okay? But again, when this stuff comes up and people talk to you about it, listen to it, take it seriously. And when I say take it seriously, take it as seriously as you would your younger sister or your daughter saying that they're not really cool going to a party at that guy's house, because we're really good in the 21st century of seeing the most extreme bad as bad. It's time for us to recognize the stuff that leads to there, And so that's a really big thing. And if a person does, if one of the people you want to hang out with and spend time at isn't comfortable around other ones of your friends or in places that you guys would do that, then make time to find places that they are if you want to spend time with, and understand that if they're not comfortable around someone you like, it doesn't mean that you're a jerk. It means that that person is a jerk. And they don't want to be around that jerk. And just because that person isn't being a jerk to you doesn't mean they're nice to everyone around you. Okay? And that's really all I'm saying. That really is all. I mean, it's a real thing, and it's something that I feel I have to remind from time to time. But anyway, way late in the day. I've run out of time. If you guys have any questions or comments or anything of that like, you can totally hit me. And I'm willing to have this conversation with people on Discord and an email, or even send me an email and I'll send you a Zoom link and we can talk about this stuff at length. I'm perfectly fine with that. But to do so, you'll have to pull up your email and type in backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK @gmail.com. You can also reach out to me on Twitter and on Instagram, also at backinthedeck. That's BACKINTHEDECK. You can also hit me up on TikTok. Check out some of the stuff that we put out there. And of course, if you are like me and over 40, that means you probably still have a Facebook account. And join our group, Deckers on the Book. I really want to know what you guys have to say about this stuff and how you're feeling. Today was the real talk. The rest of the week, we're going to be talking about fun stuff. I was debating on the next episode of Hobby Hall being continuing the paint the Blessed Sisters, or should I start painting some goblins? Because I got some goblins. For my orc army for Grimdark Future, which is Bargain Bin Warhammer 40k. And so this week we got some good stuff. Hopefully my co-hosts will be back. There were doctor's appointments involved and all that stuff. But in the meantime, if anybody tells you that you can't like what you like or you're not welcome where they are because of the circumstances of your birth, be it race, religion, creed, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, neurodivergency, or your budget, you can tell those people to put those cards back in the deck. And I really want to stress that budget thing because I'm dead serious on the fact that the trailer park is never too far from the hood, and we eat a lot of the same stuff. Word up to the fried okra. So with you guys out there, I'm Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, saying thank you guys for showing up, and we will see you next time on the dark side of the room.